I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
One of the great quotes of all time comes from Justice Potter Stewart on the question of pornography. And it went something like this. He was asked, "What is the definition of pornography?" And he responded by saying, "I know it when I see it." And it seems we have lost all capacity in America for the instinct of, "I know it when I see it." And so let me just say, as a white guy from North Jersey who's 53 years old, that's racist. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an idiot of the most spectacular dimensions, transcendently so. But even an imbecile of her stature, even a malignant personality of her profound achievements, appreciates that in 2024, she can't say what she wanted to say out loud. Jasmine Crockett is a freshman member of Congress from the state of Texas. She serves on the House Government Oversight Committee, and she's an attorney by training. The defining feature of this moment, this extraordinarily strange moment in the history of the country, this moment in our time, is that nobody knows what's happening. Nobody knows what's real, what's true, what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right. It all swirls about in zero gravity. What Congresswoman Crockett is a clarifier. She helps break through in our cluttered times, where knowing anything seems to be impossible. She helps communicate what is in English in a way that Americans can understand. She calls out plainly nonsense.
Every single hearing, y'all spin. I don't know how y'all are still standing right now, because you should be quite dizzy from all the spinning that you're constantly doing when it comes to spinning the truth. You talk about free and fair elections, but you back a guy who we know tried to steal the election. I am so excited that my colleagues across the aisle care about sexual abuse, considering that the front runner right now for presidency is kind of just been found liable of sexual abuse. We also want to talk about foreign money coming in. Have y'all seen the report that was just produced where this chairman decided that he was going to block this committee from receiving additional information about y'all's guy Trump and all the money that he took? From what we did receive, we know that Trump got almost $6 million that we can account for, and we know that there's more there. From China specifically, we found almost $8 million total that he accepted from foreign governments while he was serving as the president of these United States. But we're concerned about the president's son who has not been involved in his administration. I'm assuming that y'all have never been Trump lawyers, Mr. Trusty or Mr. Costello.
No, I was for a year.
Oh, you were? And you still have your bar card?
I'm sorry?
You still have your bar card?
Yeah, well, unless I get targeted for daring to represent a former president.
You have absolutely done a lot better than most that deal with him. So good for you. I can't get over the gentle lady from South Carolina talking about white privilege. It was a spit in the face, at least of mine as a black woman, for you to talk about what white privilege looks like, especially from that side of the aisle. When we start talking about things that look like evidence, they want to act like they blind. They don't know what this is. These are our national secrets, looks like in the to me. So you can talk all you want to about how January 6th was nonsense, but all of y'all were running at that time. Y'all were grabbing y'all's gas masks and y'all were running to your offices because you didn't know if they were coming to kill you. You should have cared that somebody was there to protect you, but instead you want to play games because you found out that it was your leader that decided that he wanted to propagate an insurrection on our country. So don't tell me that you care about the Constitution, because you don't.
One of her colleagues on that committee, unfortunately, is Marjorie Taylor Greene. And by now, most of the country has seen the spectacle that led Senator John Fetterman to say the following. Perfectly stated. Now, let's look at what started it all.
I don't think you know what you're here for.
Well, you the one talking about.
I think your fake eyelashes are messing up.
No, ain't nothing.
Hold on.
Listen.
Order.
And let's watch the question that Congresswoman Crockett asked to Committee Chairman Comer to clarify the rules of the committee regarding decorum.
I'm just curious, just to better understand your ruling, if someone on this committee then starts talking about somebody's bleach blonde, bad built butch body, that would not be engaging in personalities, correct?
A what now?
Remember, Congresswoman Crockett is an attorney, and the question she asked was sharp, quick, and smart, and necessary, because the question she was trying to get at is, are there any standards whatsoever in the committee? And the only way to ask that question is the way that she asked it. Jake Tapper doesn't seem to understand what was at the heart of this matter. In fact, Jake Tapper doesn't seem to be so interested in journalism here as in playing the role of a middle school principal, admonishing one of his students with the, well, let's watch.
Okay, yeah, and I hear that, but she went after your appearance, and then you went back at her 1,000-fold.
I did, in a very lawyerly way.
But obviously she started it, I'm not disputing that, but do you regret that at all?
I don't.
The judgmentalism is inappropriate. Let's go back to the beginning of the interview and get to the heart of the matter, which is another thing that Jake Tapper doesn't understand. And let me just say, I think it is inappropriate for a CNN anchor to ask a Black Congresswoman if she thinks the racist attack on her was racist when it was so obviously racist. One of the great quotes of all time comes from Justice Potter Stewart on the question of pornography. And it went something like this. He was asked, what is the definition of pornography? And he responded by saying, I know it when I see it. And it seems we have lost all capacity in America for the instinct of, I know it when I see it. And so let me just say, as a white guy from North Jersey who's 53 years old, that's racist. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an idiot of the most spectacular dimensions, transcendently so. But even an imbecile of her stature, even a malignant personality of her profound achievements, appreciates that in 2024, she can't say what she wanted to say out loud, which is looking across the aisle at Congresswoman Crockett and calling her a N, the N-word. That's what Marjorie Taylor Greene was calling Congresswoman Crockett. That's what the lashes were about. Of course, it's a comment, a smear. What she's saying is, you don't belong here. You're low class. You're ghetto. It is racist. It is disgraceful. It is despicable. And it is as clear as day. You don't have to be Detective Benson or Tutuola to see this coming. But Jake Tapper apparently has some difficulty with it. Let's watch the beginning of the interview.
Do you think her going after your eyelashes, that in itself is racist?
Immediately, Tapper has put Congresswoman Crockett on the defensive. She now has to be her own defense attorney, explaining and justifying what was clearly a racist attack is racist. Why can't Jake Tapper see that it is when it was so obviously so? What is the exact nature of this question? Here's the truth of the matter, and this doesn't come up in the interview at all, but it should have, because you must know what's happening, what's real. You deserve to know the truth. Jamie Raskin told the truth. The truth was the committee was meeting late at night because a lot of members of that committee took a train to New York to go to the Trump trial. And they got completely shit-faced on the Amtrak on the way back to the committee hearing. So all of the members are drinking. Some of them are drunk. And that's why this went off the rails. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a racist, evidenced by her racism. Marjorie Taylor Greene is an anti-Semite, as evidenced by her anti-Semitism. She should not get the benefit of the doubt here. Marjorie Taylor Greene does not need interpreters, does not need explanation. She gives it her all every single day, telling us exactly who she is. Let's keep watching.
I think her specifically doing it to me, yes, that was the intent. As has been stated, you know, women wear makeup, we wear lashes, we wear all types of things to beautify ourselves. But MAGA has historically been on social media doing the things where they're saying, oh, she's black with lashes and nails and hair, and so she's ghetto. And so to me, this was her buying into that rhetoric and trying to amplify this for the MAGA crowd. And so, yeah, I absolutely think that she only did it to be racist towards me.
This exchange is incredible, truly. And Congresswoman Crockett deserves a medal here for patience. She's probably a very effective lawyer in the courtroom. But the issue here isn't what Congresswoman Crockett is saying. It's the questions that Jake Tapper is asking. Does he not understand this moment that we are living in America? It is if these questions have been written from an isolated outpost on the dark side of the moon. Does he not go onto X, formerly Twitter, and see the bile, see the hate, see the racism that spews forth? Does he not understand the tone, the menace, the snarling nastiness inherent in what Marjorie Taylor Greene said? Is he possibly that oblivious? Because if he is, down at Bash, who definitely is not, will have her work cut out for her moderating a debate that's going to go off the rails in the first 30 seconds, but that is still dealing with some of the most consequential issues the country has faced since either World War II or the American Civil War. Let's keep watching as Jake Tapper asks the next obvious question, which is, do you think that anything should happen to Marjorie Taylor Greene? Like what? Nothing's going to happen. Everybody knows that. Tapper should know it. But here comes the question, and the answer is brilliant. Let's watch.
Is there anything you think should happen here? Do you think that Congresswoman Greene should face any sort of punishment?
I mean, she didn't face any at the time, so I don't anticipate that she'll face any in general. I mean, I think that this speaker should be inclined to try to rein her in after trying to kick him out of his position. But they just let Marjorie do whatever she wants to do. And I think this was the first time that someone actually said, no, you won't just treat me whatever way you want to and get away with it.
This is a really important answer to a really dumb question. And I'm generally not somebody who believes in dumb questions, but they do exist. And this was a pristine example. Nothing will happen to Marjorie Taylor Greene. She is the princess of MAGA, of Nutjob America. And she has been given free rein to do whatever she wants. And this danger is profound, because really what we're talking about here is the lowest common denominator politics. When you allow the craziest person in a community filled with crazy people to set the tone, what you get is what we have. which is the lowest common denominator level of MAGA crazy. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. The skankier you are, the trashier you are, the more covered you are. Why is it that before this, no one in the country had heard of Congresswoman Crockett, but everyone in the country knows who Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Taylor Greene is? Why is it that no one in the country knows who Abigail Spanberger is or who Mickey Sherrill is, but everybody knows who Matt Gaetz is? And therein lies the great crisis in journalism. Let's keep watching.
Just to explain to our viewers, she said what she said, which is a personal attack on your appearance. And then the Republicans refused to take her words away.
Yeah.
Because they said it wasn't a personal attack. And then you said something about, you didn't mention her name, but you obviously were talking about Congresswoman Greene, bleach blonde, bad built, butch body.
Very good.
So it's tough to say. But you've really embraced what you said. You're printing it on swag. I think we have an image of the shirt here that you're selling to help raise money to elect Democrats. How would you respond to say it's inappropriate to respond to an attack on somebody's physical appearance? And you hear Congresswoman AOC say, you know, you shouldn't be attacking somebody's physical appearance, but then you did the same thing.
No, Jake. No, she didn't. She didn't. And now we're moving into the aneurysm part of the interview. This is so important to understand. And the next exchange I'm about to show you demonstrates how broken the media is. How hard it is for you to understand what's happening and what's going on. No, Jake, Congresswoman Crockett did not insult, attack, demean Marjorie Taylor Greene's appearance. That isn't what happened. The fact that you can't see that, can't understand it, is incredible. The Congresswoman is about to explain it. But before she does, let me preface it. Marjorie Taylor Greene and a lot of the Republicans were off the wall that night, a bunch of them drunk, coming back from the Trump trial. The reason they were meeting at 11 o'clock at night on a Potemkin impeachment of Merrick Garland was because of that fact. The entire thing was a farce, a joke, an act of abuse towards the American people. Yet, that's not what happened. What happened was Marjorie Taylor Greene launched, maybe drunk, a vicious, racist, personal attack that violated the rules of the committee, the rules of the House, and all standards of decorum. The Democrats moved to strike her words. Let me explain to you what that means. It's a punishment. It's a shaming, if you will. And if your words are stricken because of an outrageous breach of decorum, you must excuse yourself from the committee. You are kicked out, like a child being removed from a classroom, out. But the chairman needed Marjorie Taylor Greene's vote. So the question that Congresswoman Crockett asks shows how good a lawyer she probably was, how articulate and quick-witted she is. The question she asked was intended to demonstrate the hypocrisy and the total idiocy of this committee's attempts to debase, defame anyone who stands in the way of Donald Trump's returning to power. And what Congresswoman Crockett pointed out was that the question she asked was a parliamentary question that went to the heart of the matter, which is the idiocy of the hearing and the absolute lack of standards and decorum by the chairman, Comer, who runs his kangaroo court day in, day out, while being given the benefit of the doubt by people like Jake Tapper. It's beyond incredible. Let's watch the Congresswoman answer.
So to be clear, what I asked for was clarification on the ruling. If her words were taken down, that meant that she was going to have to leave the committee for the evening, which actually would have helped everybody out because the source of the chaos is always Marjorie Taylor Greene. But the chairman was concerned about his votes. He was concerned about whether or not he would be able to move forward with contempt. And so therefore,
It's contempt of the, yeah, they were the,
Of Merrick Garland.
yeah, for the Attorney General Garland.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm like, what are we doing? So what are the parameters? And I generally wanted to know. So I did not state anything to her. I specifically asked a question and I didn't even mention her name. Mm-hmm. And so it was for clarification, and that's what I asked for. And he obviously didn't hear me.
Okay, yeah, and I hear that, but she went after your appearance, and then like you went back at her 1,000-fold.
And like I said at the beginning, no, she didn't go back at her 1,000-fold. She didn't issue a double FU. This is really disturbing to watch. And it really speaks to a lack of ability to orient. It's like a fish in a bowl trying to contemplate the ocean. It's tough to watch. Not so long ago, there was an investigative article in LA Magazine about literally a Mr. Ripley type character, an imposter, a fraud, the journalistic equivalent of George Santos. His name was Yashar Ali. He is the Santos of America's press corps. It was an incredible story. Here is Jake Tapper's quote about Yashar Ali from the story. Jake Tapper couldn't suss out the imposter, though all the evidence was all around him. I'm not saying this in any way to disparage Jake Tapper, who in many ways is a good journalist, a good anchor, and a very good author. But there is a troubling quality, and it's about discernment. It's about common sense. It's about street smarts. Because when President Biden and Donald Trump appear on that stage, one of those men is an imposter. He's a man who desecrated his presidential oath. He's a man who lied 35,000 times. And if you lack the ability to assess a situation and understand what is happening and why it is happening, you probably shouldn't be the person asking the questions in what will be the most important presidential debate in American history, the June debate between Trump and Biden. Jake Tapper should reflect deeply on this interview. What Marjorie Taylor Greene did and said was obviously racist. AOC's conduct was abhorrent, just like AOC's, but Congresswoman Crockett's wasn't. Congresswoman Crockett handled herself with dignity, and the question she asked Chairman Comer, who has been leading a witch hunt disguised as a kangaroo court, was spot on, urgently necessary, and not even close to reflecting the interpretation of Jake Tapper, who's supposed to interpret events, not referee as a middle school principal. Do better. This is The Warning. I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning, and I invite you to subscribe on our Substack, on our YouTube channel. Follow us. Welcome to the community.